What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another lap guide, this time the Nürburgring 24-hour layout, which combines the wide-open Grand Prix circuit with the tight, fast, green hell known as the Nordschleife. At over 16 miles, with 80 corners, some of them unique just to this track, getting airborne multiple times, and being able to stare at a castle along the longest straight, this insane track is one that people not only devote their careers, but their lives to mastering. So let me talk you through a fast qualifying lap around the Nürburgring. Heading towards the start-finish line as we cross over from the Nordschleife onto the Grand Prix circuit. At over 16 miles, a fast lap around here is about managing risk versus reward, and it's about managing your tire temperatures. So heading into turn 1, it's a curved braking zone, but we want to brake in a straight line as much as possible. So we angle our car towards the middle of the road, pointing it at this 50 brake marker off in the distance. Braking in a straight line, all the way down into first gear just before the apex, clipping that apex, turning hard right before immediately going hard left, trail braking all the way into the apex here, before hitting the gas hard, remembering to upshift early into second. We want to use all the torque low in second gear to get out of here, clipping that green paint on the right, using all of the road on the right. Fourth, fifth gear, coming into a fast left-hander, just braking at the middle of this access road on the right, down into fourth gear, just tickling the throttle and exit, just a little bit of throttle before immediately braking at the start of this curbing on the right. Down into second gear, hug it tight to the apex, then hard on the gas, using all of the road on the exit. Third, fourth, fifth gear, coming into an 180-degree right-hand corner. Really tricky, really challenging. Braking just before the start of this curbing on the left, but using all of the curbing on the left to maximize the radius of the corner. Trail braking all the way into the apex. We're getting on the throttle really hard. Use that throttle to help rotate the car out of the corner. All of the exit curb on the left. Fourth gear, coming into a really fast left-right hand chicane. Using a bit of this curbing on the right, but if you use too much, it'll pull your car off. Lifting to get the car to turn in. Just missed that apex a little bit. The car sliding on the exit. It's okay though, we're all good. Fifth gear, coming into another chicane, a little bit slower than the previous one. We're braking just after the start of this access road on the right. Down into third gear. Using not quite all the road on the right, before immediately turning back to the right. Just lifting off here, and then we apply the brake as we come towards the apex. Just a little bit of brake though, before hitting the gas hard. Immediately up into fourth gear, using all of the curb again on the exit. Into fifth gear. This is our last chance to take a breath and relax before heading onto the Nordschleife. Coming into this fast left-right chicane, we're braking about 3/4 of the way down this curbing on the right here. Into fourth gear, using the throttle to help rotate the car through here, using a lot of the road. We're not going all the way back to the right though, even though this is a left-hander coming up. We're just touching our right tires along the seam on the middle of the road. Trail braking all the way into the apex, down into second gear after turn-in, on the throttle hard, up to third gear, using all of the road we can on the right here. And it's a light brake down this hill because we are going downhill. It's super easy to lock up that left front tire. Braking all the way into the apex, hard on the throttle, into third gear, fourth gear, easy flat-out right-hander here, and then into a really fast right-hander, just lifting off just after turn-in, get that front end to bite, on the throttle hard again, braking here just after these white letters here, down into third gear, super fast right-hander, on the throttle hard, into fourth gear, flat through that corner, but then we want to brake and use all of the curbing on the right here. Touching the throttle, we want to just barely kiss this apex, and then you can use that curbing on the right there before braking just at the end of this righting in front of us. Into another fast right left-hander, and then hard on the throttle, fourth gear. Whew, that was nice, that was nice. Quick chance to take a breath before a really fast right-hander. We're going to be flat over this crest here. We're lifting off and turning in just at this access road on the right. Before we're hard on the throttle again. It's so important to get on the throttle early there, out of that corner, because it leads onto such a long straight. You want to carry as much momentum as you can, but you also want to get on the throttle as early as you can. Into sixth gear, we're going airborne again over this next crest for another really fast left-hander into an immediate braking zone. So we're lifting off just at that sign there and turning in. A little bit of throttle again, but as soon as the car is straight and our hands are straight, we're going to be braking hard for this right-hander. We can see the road slopes down to the right. That means it's going to be really easy for our right front tire to lock up into this corner. So we want to keep our wheels as straight as we can until we turn in. And as soon as we do turn in, we want to be lifting off the brakes to keep that right front tire from locking up and sending us into the gravel. Braking down into third gear here. Hard on the throttle. Again, using that throttle to rotate the car on the exit, so important in this car. Touching this curbing on the exit, it's easy to get pulled off there and get a 1x off track. Easy flat through these corners though, into 6th gear, really fast section of the track. Heading into a really tricky braking zone, apexing on the left there, before ending up back on the right side here. Just before this sign on the right, we're braking hard, down to 5th gear, but we lift off the brakes. It's really easy if you're carrying too much brake to understeer. So we touch this apex curbing on the left, before braking again down into 4th gear. I get a really good apex here, and I'm actually a bit overexcited by how good of an apex I get, and I carry a bit too much speed here. I should be braking about now. I brake slightly too late, and I get a bit of understeer through this right-hander. But it's really important, braking down to 2nd gear, that you're braking all the way into this apex here. Then we're getting on the throttle hard, a little bit of lift, and then back on the throttle, in 2nd gear up to 3rd, use that curbing on the exit again, into 5th gear, heading into a fast left-hander. It's just a little bit of a brake on entry, a little bit of a brake, still in 5th gear, hard on the throttle, and then we can see this little bit of dust on the road in front of us. That's our braking point for this next corner. Braking down into 3rd gear, hard on the throttle. You're going to lift a little bit on throttle, the car gets a bit loose on the exit, and then just after the second sign on the left, we're braking down to 3rd gear. Really easy to lock up this corner. You want to lift off the brakes. Again, the road's falling away from us, so we don't want to be trail braking too much into this corner. Kissing this apex, late apex, but we're kissing it. 3rd, 4th gear, then turning in early for this left-right chicane. Turning in pretty early. The car, there's good compression, you get good grip through there. 5th gear, it kind of spits the car out, the car gets loose. Braking halfway down this curbing on the left, into 4th gear, really fast, using the throttle to rotate the car on exit. 4th, 5th gear, there's a change in color in the grass here from yellow to green. And we're braking just at this change in the grass color. It's slightly too early of a braking point though. So I'm braking down to 2nd gear, and I'm actually a bit too slow here. My tire's a bit and I've turned in. So I get on the throttle and have to get off the throttle again, losing a couple tenths through there. But 3rd gear, 4th gear, use the exit curbing. Into a double apex left-hander, braking just before the end of this wall on the right, down into 3rd gear. It's really easy for the car to understeer here, so you actually need to brake earlier than you would think. Hard on the throttle in 3rd gear, up into 4th, and then just at this righting in front of us is where I'm braking. And I slightly lock up so we push a bit wide in this corner. Lose about 2 tenths through here. So we've lost about half a second so far this lap, just with a couple of sloppy mistakes. But it's a good lap so far. It's a good lap so far. Into a really fast, really important right-hander because it leads onto a long straight. So you want to get on the throttle early. There are these 2 signs here, but just in between these 2 signs where I'm braking as the road kind of crests up. Down into 3rd gear. We want to get on the throttle way before the apex here. So you can see I'm already getting back to throttle, hard on the throttle. So important to get a good launch out of there because it leads onto such a long straight. We have about 20 seconds to relax now before the last full focus section of the track. About 3 minutes of full concentration and then we're done. There's one little bit tricky sometimes left-hander here. Set up on the right side of the road and head to the left there. We're heading into a really fast left-hander now. So we'll come up through this right-hander, another right-hander, and then we want to set up our car on the left of the road. We see there's this curbing on the right here. So this curbing right up here on the right. Using all that curbing about halfway down is where we're braking. We want it to be a light dab of the brakes and then hard on the throttle. So light dab of the brakes, hard on the throttle. That was really nice. Using that throttle to rotate the car. Setting up on the left here. A really tricky right-hander because you're unsighted by this little hill here. So flat out right-hander. Just a tiny lift on the exit, and then we're immediately into a really tricky braking zone. There's a couple bumps, so you actually can't brake with full force, and you want to keep the tires from locking up as much as you can. So just before this yellow writing on the road, we're braking. It's a light brake again, down into 3rd gear. A bump on the exit, so we're kind of half throttle, and then we're full throttle. Avoid that bump on the exit. 3rd, 4th gear, heading into the most famous corner track, the carousel. There's a bit of an elbow on this curbing in front of us here. We'll see right here. A bit of an elbow on this curbing. At that elbow is where I'm braking. Down into 2nd gear. Use the compression here. If you miss it, you lose so much time. Hard on the throttle on the exit. Shooting us out of there. 3rd, 4th gear. We are up on our deltas. This is a good lap. 4th, 5th gear. Easy flat through here, but the car will slide on the exit. A little bit of a slide there. We catch it pretty easily, but then we're heading into a really tricky left-right-right complex. We want to brake here just before the curbing. Into 4th gear. The car really wants to oversteer and slide through there. And this is the easiest point, in my opinion, on the track to crash. This curb on the right here is lethal, and it will shoot your car into the barrier on the left. So it's so important that you miss that curb on the right there, but then we can use this exit curbing on the left to set up this next right-hander. It's a light brake though. The car's really unsettled right now, so just a very light brake, down into third gear, kissing this apex, harden the throttle, early upshift to fourth. The car slides on exit, but we're good. Flat through this first right-hander here, and then it's a dab of the brakes, double apex left, into a fast apex right, just lifting off the throttle to get the nose to turn in, then using all of the curbing on the right, using all of this curbing on the left, and then braking just about here as the road starts to go uphill into an unsighted right-hand corner, hard on the throttle and exit, using all the curbing on the left there, and then braking down into third gear. The car really wants to understeer here, and back up into fourth gear, and then at the end of this curbing on the left there, we're braking down into third gear again. Again, the car really wants to understeer. There's actually a lot of exit curbing you can use on the left here, but you will get a 1x off track, so we don't use too much of it on this lap. And then just before the end of this curbing, we're braking down into third gear again. Car wants to understeer through this corner, hard on the gas, using all of the curbing and that exit curbing on the left. And then as the road starts to go uphill here, we're braking down into third gear. Tricky corner, the car wants to understeer, but we've really used a lot of the front tires. So the front tires are starting to lose grip at the end of this lap, and I can feel it. I can feel the car starting to understeer, so I need to be braking a bit earlier for the rest of the lap. We're using all of this curbing on the right. It really unsettles the car though, so you have to be really careful. The car wants to slide sometimes there. And then hitting the apex there into the biggest jump on the lap. We're lifting off a bit early, and then braking hard down into fourth gear, getting on the gas early. We want to be flat out through this left-hander, so as soon as we can see this apex, we're turning left. But if you clip that apex curbing, it will send your car into the wall. It's really tricky. And then another really tricky left-hander here too. We want to keep the car more towards the middle of the road. You do not want to use this apex, because again, if you clip that apex curbing, it will send your car spinning into the wall. So missing that apex curbing, trusting the downforce, trusting the car through here, flat out through these corners, into sixth gear. It's bouncing and sliding around, but you just have to trust the car, trust the downforce. And then we're into a really, really tricky braking zone. We're braking through a corner. So we're just light on the brakes, trying to keep the car from spinning and rotating too much. But at this riding here on the road, we're braking down fifth, fourth gear, hard on the throttle, and then just before these tire marks in front of us, we're braking down into the third gear. Again, not using all this road on the right. Down to third gear, the car wants to understeer, hard on the throttle, fourth gear. Just after this riding in front of us is where we're braking into this tight left-hander. We're actually apexing here and not using the full berm on the right. Hard on the gas into fourth gear, into a really tricky, really fast right-hander, double apex. Just after this yellow riding in front of us, we're lifting off the gas, a tiny dab of the brakes, hard on the gas again though. And then as we get over the top of this crest, we're turning in. We can't see the apex, but we're turning in, getting into fifth gear, a little bit of a lift to help the car rotate, and then hard on the gas. Trust the downforce, trust the rear end of this car. It will stick. We are up. We have one braking zone left, and we are up almost 5 seconds on our previous best lap. This is going to be a good lap. Last chance to take a deep breath. Heart rate is absolutely racing right now at about 160 beats per minute. I haven't mentioned it yet, but this is a custom setup that I made myself. If you'd like to use it, I have it in the description below. You can check that out. Heading into this fast left-hander, super easy flat out. Going through the fastest section of the track where we'll hit 170 miles an hour into the final braking zone. Keeping the car to the middle of the road here. I lift off a bit early because I don't want to ruin this lap, but there's a change in pavement just in front of us. And just at the change in pavement, we're braking down, just barely missing this wall on the left here. Into third gear, we have a little bit of a lockup, slight mistake, trying to get the car to the apex. We just missed this apex. We're hard on the throttle, in third gear, a little bit of kick of oversteer. Lost another tenth or so through there, but it's okay. We've made it to the end of the lap. Anticipation building as we come across the line to set of 1:16.7. I'm a bit disappointed there in myself, as you can see. But overall, looking back, I'm happy with that lap time. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you're racing in the 24 this weekend, best of luck. Keep the car safe in one piece. And if not, and you're just using this to help learn the track, I hope you enjoyed it and I hope it was helpful. I thank you guys so much for all of your support. I really, really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time.